Welcome to the Artisans Asylum Woodshop. Matt Thomas, who helped do the entire reorganization and some of this beautiful work. MT Thomas Designs. Where we're coming in, John Moscow's clamp rack still up and running. We have a bench set up over here, which has got all of our vacuum bags, dust bags. So if you ever need the dust bags or vacuum bags, trash bags, all that stuff is in here. We use a Milwaukee panel saw. This is from Atlas Designs, Atlas Devices. They've set this up so we've got a vacuum running for dust collection at all times. Scrap bin, any scraps that go in here should be smaller than the scrap bin itself. Over against the wall we have all of our tools at the bottom, the circular saws, hand tools, whatever, Makita chop saw, sliding miter saw 10-inch. We have two bandsaws set up, one 14-inch for smaller things. It's the rigid, uses 93.5-inch blades. If you ever want to bring your own blade in, we usually keep a 1/4 inch on here, but if you want your own, that's fine. And we have the Rikon 17-inch blade length, 142-inch, 1/4 inch by 1.25 inches. If you ever want your own blades, just grab them, bring them in. Make sure you know how to change the blade and tension it and adjust it properly. This is all set up with a jet dust collector. On the bottom of the jet dust collector is bag. The bag, once half full, needs to be replaced. If you let the bag get all the way up to the top and filled up, it reduces the overall efficiency of the dust collection. Every time you use the machine, you want to give it a spin before and periodically every 20 minutes to a half hour of use. Yes, Fred, that's what those are for. This is a 3 horsepower saw stop, which we've had for a while. Saw stops are a lovely device designed for saving fingers. You can see inside the saw stop, it's got a riving knife set up on it. That riving knife is normally kept right down here below next to the saw stop on the side. It also has in it a cartridge. That cartridge down there, if anything should touch the blade, a finger, a nail, or anything will fire up and stop the blade and pull it and retract it into the unit. Set up with a jet dust collector. Over here in the center we have kind of a sanding and finishing area. We have this beautiful jet oscillating spindle sander. So this was added to go over. We used to have a rigid desktop model, and just on quiet alone, this thing's amazing. Hooks up to the Oneida Mini Gorilla dust collector. Over here we have a Powermatic disc and belt sander. And we have the Mini Gorilla Dust Gorilla. Scroll saw set up with a place to always be. Powermatic 22-inch planer. This came in with the joiner. Both these are 7.5 horsepower 3-phase. This one was set up with the regular knives. So what we've done is we've gotten a helical cutter head. This is from Bird Helix, and this will allow us to have a much better cut, less tear out, a more neutral angle, and the blades are more durable during operation. This is all set up with a coral dust collector. These dust collectors are set up so when you're using them, this is how you clean these out before and after every use. And in the middle, you can see as the flaps go along, and you rotate these, dust comes down off the pleats. This is a 6-inch jet jointer. This jointer is being replaced with a 6-inch Bird Helix helical cutter head that allow us to have a nice, quiet, safe tool for people learning on. This 16-inch is a bit intimidating to start, having that open 16-inch cutter head. The one coming out is this beautiful Powermatic 15HH planer. This planer came stock with a Bird Helix helical cutter head. When you look at the cutter head itself, look at those carbides. Those carbides, they don't have a straight edge. They're actually slightly rounded. That means because of the angle they're at, as they cut around the radius, they start cutting with the leading edge and then follow to the trailing edge instead of doing a straight cut. That helps reduce the noise, the tear out, and the overall damage to the wood. It leaves a little bit of a rise where these line up with each other on your piece as an artifact, but it's easily sanded down very quickly. We also have on this system, which will probably get a similar system on the 22-inch, is a digital readout for the system. The remote digital readout connects up to the side, and that digital readout allows us to very precisely remove material without precision down to 1/1000th of an inch. This is the joiner we got. This is used 16-inch. It's got the helical cutter head that's OEM from Powermatic. On this, you can see that these teeth are getting a little bit beat up as it is, right on that edge. But you can also see, oh, train's coming by. You can see that on that edge, it's not perfectly lined up and parallel with the cut, which means that it cuts with a slight scallop. So going to the helical cutter head on this from Bird with that spiral cut would give us a better cut with less tear out. Nice big safety equipment. It's important to always use your safety equipment. On this cutter head too, you can bring the back and cut with a lot less material. It's important as you're using the cutter head to move back and forth and use the entire width of the cutter head. If you only cut in one place, it'll cause dishing on the bed itself, and it will also wear out the cutter head in one position at a time. You can see this bed is 8 foot long, which means that realistically you want to limit yourself to about 16 foot of operation, for which we have the in feed and the out feed to go to that. Incro router table with lift. The way this setup works, we have micro lift, and then we have the spindle lock to lock the spindle to change out the tool. We have a dust collection box set up underneath that hooks up to a vacuum. The on-off with a knee kick e-stop. This is going to get replaced with a bench dog lift. More blades over for the table saw equipment. Bandsaw, dull blades. We send out our blades every week to be sharpened. We also have on here, you can see this, it's called a French cleat. So the neat thing about this French cleat is that it's a very easily adjustable system. So we have it on the wall for all of our storage, so that when we put toolboxes up, we can just drop them on that cleat. And if we want to adjust where they are, we just have to slide them along the cleat, and then we can just put them down. This also means that we can put all of our sleds up on the wall and hopefully get all of our press tools and everything off the ground. Over here we can see Wall of Shame. So this is a saw stop that has that has blown. So this is the cartridge. Cartridge here has a little shell that charges and shoots out this piece of aluminum. This piece of aluminum was straight and had no deflection. It comes up, it gets sucked into the blade, and you can see that's cut just from force, from spinning, inertia, almost a ½ inch into that aluminum honeycomb. Once this charge goes off on a blade, the blade likely gets warped and it's time to replace it. You can actually see some of the change. So there's a little gap here, and you can see it compressed over here. So we've actually warped the blade and just twisted it like a, I don't know, something horrible that gets twisted. When you're in shops, you also want to make sure you have the correct fire extinguisher. Make sure that it's up to date. So we use an equipment service that will actually come in and replace and fix our extinguishers. So if you look at dry chemical and ABC, so an A is a wood type fire, a B is a liquid type fire, and a C is an electrical fire. There are different types of extinguishers that do all. If you're in a space like this, generally getting ABCs are the way to go. Over the first panel saw we had, 52-inch fence, 3 horsepower saw stop. That's only a single phase 3 horsepower. And this year we went to the industrial 5 horsepower, and it's just a beautiful, quiet machine. It's got the Bessemeyer fence on it, 3-phase startup. When you start it up, first you have to start it, goes through a boot process. Fence is very precise, slides lovely. When you start to use your machine and finish your machine, They should be clean just like this. Part of that is the Oneida dust collection. We actually have an IVAC system. The way this works, we leave this on auto all the time. Once you turn on the machine, there's a little switch right here, this little yellow box. It actually picks up on electrical current enough to drive the motor on this machine. And then when it turns on, the dust collector turns on. The nice thing about this dust collector is that it's industrial. The bad thing about it means it doesn't do well with cycling on and off. If you cycle this motor on and off quickly over a period of time, in fact more than 6 times in an hour, it'll actually burn the motor up because the start and shutdown is so abusive to it. So what we've done is we've set the system, and using the IVAC Pro contactor, we've programmed it so that it'll run for 8 minutes before it'll shut down. It also has this little light on here. This little light unit starts to blink when it reads that the barrel is full. 17 gallons, you should check that before and after every use. On the ceiling we have the AirTech HP, the XL, and 2 of the regular dust collection units. We have more benches for handwork. These were made of LVLs. Dilly building awesome stuff. Back wall, we have the main shutoff for our bus bar. So if we pull that off, it's going to kill all of the equipment in the shop that are on the bus bar. We also have a variable speed Powermatic with a digital readout of the RPM out. The Raycon, which has the radial head, so we can rotate the head, drive it in and out, and drop it up and down. You can see the most often replaced thing on these is the gear rack. So on these, we end up periodically replacing the gear rack, trying to get them straight and stay on the machine. And the last thing in the corner over here is we have the turning area.